On this episode of iFIlmmaker, we have Mr. Chris Grubisa of Chrilleks Productions. Welcome to another episode of iFIlmmaker. My name's Ariel Martinez, and Mr. McCoy is not with us on this episode. We actually have a guest. We have Mr. Chris Grubisa of Chrilleks Productions, a company that is really killing it right now in the industry. They have some great clients. They've done some great work with companies like Quaker State, New York On Air, Polar Pro, Red Bull, Media House, DC Shoes, Core SWX. The numbers go, the names go on, and I'm really excited about this one. Chris and I actually clicked off the bat from our first phone call, our initial phone call before this episode, and we found that we had a lot in common, and that, you know, the way we think and feel in this industry is very similar. So I thought he'd be a great person to interview, and has a very successful production company that he runs with his wife. And they're just killing it right now in the industry. He does shoot on the red, which is fantastic. It's awesome. And he just has some great insight on his path, on how he started his production company. And actually, they started in Canada and they moved over to LA, and we talk about that kind of stuff. A bit of a disclaimer, more of an apology. I kind of completely butchered the name before. I called it Chrilleks Productions when in the interview, but it's really called Chrilleks Production. And so sorry about that, Chris. And but we have a really good chat on his entire journey from starting his production company, moving over to LA, and then we get into some tech talk, which is pretty cool. But you guys are gonna listen to all that stuff now. And yeah, well, let me not take too much of your time on this, and we'll get right to it. In the entire video production and filmmaking industry, what was it that made you want to do what you're doing?
I just started as a kid, like way back. And it's like the typical skateboard filmmaker story. Like I grew up filming my friends skateboarding, like it was just something fun to shoot. But actually even before that, my best friend still, it's like 25 years, 6 years going on now. I'm 28 right now. And
Oh, nice.
it's Mark. He did stop motion in his basement with Lego figures. And he had this like rinky dink. He's always this guy, like he's taking apart motorcycles now for him and his wife, and there's like pieces everywhere. He's the guy that could dissect the camera and just bring it right back together like nothing happened.
Wow.
And so he had this like little webcam, and he's like, "Yo, check this out, man." I don't even think it was, no, it wasn't even on a laptop or anything. And this was like, oh geez, like sixth grade or something like that, grade five. And we kind of got together and made these like little Lego animations, like stop motion. And I remember he threw in like 5 or 6 photos into a sequence and then made him like come to life. And that wasn't like the pinnacle moment, because my dad he's always had a camera around me. Like there's always videos. Like I've got videos when I was like a baby till now, obviously, and photos as well with my dad. But then Mark really pushed that to like, hey, you can create with motion and like bring things to life that are like a little bit fake or a little bit, you know what I mean? Like use your like imagination.
Mm.
So that was like the pinnacle. And then every summer, I mean, almost every night too, whatever, I just went to Mark's house or my house and we just made little videos. And then that just escalated into filming with skateboarding with friends, like I mentioned. And then I found out that I could take them in high school, like courses. And I was like, sick, because like I don't need, like, I never really liked school as a whole, math, science, like it just never appealed to me. But then when I found out I could take like programs or like, what are they called? Courses in high school, I was just like, oh my God, game over. It's like
Mm.
finding out that you could get paid for this. It's like, this is my dream as a kid. Oh my God, I can get credits for this. This is amazing. So, and
Right.
then that just escalated into college. And then college, first day of college, I was like, yeah, I want to work in movies and stuff. And then it was a 4-year program for college just outside of Toronto. And this is and they refined it into like, you want to do special effects, you want to do editing, you want to do camera, and then they actually split it up into documentary and live action. So
Mm.
that's when I really fine tune and funneled down my options. So
And it's interesting. You said you're 28. I'm actually 29. I just turned 29 a couple weeks ago. So we're
nice, happy
right there.
birthday.
Appreciate it, man. So we're right
Yeah,
there,
it's
and you definitely started much earlier than I did in this whole filmmaking world. And it's really cool. A lot of people they start usually around that age, and then they go into college and whatnot, and already decided that's what they
yeah.
want to do. How did you decide? How did you decide the genre, I guess, of video production that you would like to do?
Again, it was funny because I took the film skate approach. Like,
Okay,
let's just make a video. I'm one dude. I'm on my board, like following my friends with my dad's camera. I'm sure they had heart attacks as we were rolling around and stuff because obviously expensive camera back then.
right.
With the skateboard as a kid.
Do you remember the name of the
Um,
camera?
oh man, it was a Sony Hi8. I still have it because I actually converted all of my Hi8 tapes like 2 years ago to digital, so I'm like set.
Nice.
It's backed up on hard drives. I'm chilling. I don't know the camera. It's like a Sony.
Well, if
It's Hi8. It was
if you
Hi8.
still
So
have it, you could just send me a picture of it later when you
yeah,
get back, and we'll put that in the show notes. Let people know.
for sure. Yeah,
Let people know what you were shooting on
it's like
back
my.
then.
It's funny because I do have a timeline of cameras. I should actually do a social post or something. Yeah, I'll do the whole shebang on it.
Yeah,
But
that'd be cool.
with sorry, with your question,
Yeah.
I was a one man show when I was a kid, and then college came, and then that's when it refined, like, hey, you need multiple positions for for production. And then I kind of took that college route into assisting, like camera assisting, gripping, electricing, like everything.
Right.
And then I went full circle, and I came back to being like not the one man show, but enough being like, well, I mean, I could produce this, I could shoot this, and I could cut it. And then that I just kind of went back to zero, you know what I mean, after all that training in the field and
Mm.
all that stuff. And then I realized that, like, obviously social media with self branding kind of came up. Like, Chris Ray, like you interviewed a couple episodes back,
Mm-hmm.
he's like one of the guys I just watched like growing up, because like I was like, he's a skate filmer, but he does some stuff on the side. He's got GoPro under his belt. Like, there's so many opportunities versus kind of like just being like an assistant or a cam op on a big feature film. So I liked getting into branding with lifestyle and companies and, shoes to clothing to products that I use.
Right.
So like filters on a camera. And I don't think that a camera assistant or anything like that with the branding or like the social influencer, quote unquote, fit. So that's how I kind of niched into my little thing, being like, hey, I can make movies, but on the outer circle as well, there's so many opportunities.
And at what age, like, you went through all this already, and when was it exactly that you decided you wanted to start your video production company?
It was probably 2 months straight out of college. Um, and then a little bit of backstory as well. I met my wife, who's my like number one now. She produces and I shoot for our company. And we both had full-time jobs. We both got offers because we internshipped while doing schoolwork and kind of freebies like days and nights. I remember pulling all-nighters and then going to school the next day at like 8 a.m.
Okay.
So we got these like offers as jobs, and then I kind of had a really good feel of the industry and what to do while inside of school. So when I was like graduated and finished with it, we got full-time gigs, and then like a couple months in, I was like, you know what, I've seen like enough that I have a feel for like I surveyed the land, I know what's up. I'm just gonna go like freelance it. So, and then I started freelancing for like a month or two, and then I got on more sets and more assisting. And I was like, well, what's the like not the one up, or how can I skip a bunch of steps? But it's like I grew up making movies with my friends. Like, what's no different than this? And then obviously, naive as a kid, you start learning everything else in the book, like like pleasing clients, or like editing, or visual techniques, or something, or travel, or lingo, or everything else that comes with it.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's
that was kind of
that. And I'm sorry, I must have missed this. At what age was that when you started? You started off the bat with Chrilleks?
I was just gonna say Chrilleks because it's
Chrilleks.
Chris and Alex. That's our name. Because a lot of people are like, they mispronounce it or whatever
Chrilleks.
too. So I just
Okay,
yeah,
that's
Chrilleks.
cool.
Yeah, Chris and Alex. That's what we came to be. I was at
That was one of my questions where that
2017.
name came from.
Yeah, no sweat. It was probably like 7 years ago. Like
7 years.
maybe 5 to 7 years. I can't even pinpoint it.
Now, let me ask you, and this is something that's interesting that a lot of people ask me is, do they need film school or what's the best film school? Now,
Yeah.
my question to you is, how much, all right, according to the way that you shoot now, which is fantastic stuff, I've seen your work, it's great.
Thank you.
How
Thank you.
much of that did you learn in film school? Like I know it's a it's a
No, no, it's good because I like again, my background is like, oh man, I like school is whatever. And then while I was in it, I was the same. I was like, oh man, like I just want to get out. But looking back now more than ever, and I think it comes with age, it's probably 80% of that.
really
And then one of the biggest benefits that I never thought that no one ever told me, and I wish they did, was I hire like probably more than half, a lot more, but 75% of the people I went through school with. Because the program we were actually in was 3 years, but I took it for 4 years. I took an extra year. And the people I met in those 4 years, I'm still in touch with, I'm still keeping up with, seeing their path that they're going down, slash like, hey man, I'm in this city. Do you want to come out and I'll fly you? Like, and we'll work together. Just because those 4 years were projects and projects and projects. I'm talking like editing, I'm talking video, like visuals, sound design. So you find out who is really good
right.
with not wasting your time. Like if I were to bring like a new freelancer, like I do often, quite all the time, frequently, we always kind of have that testing period, but you get that while you're on set. So you don't know if the person is good or if the person's bad, versus in school, it doesn't really matter. It's just a grade.
Mm.
So yeah, and then with the skills part, I mean, I'm doing Mountain Dew stuff I just did like last month, and I'm laughing because I'm like, I literally did this in school, and
Mm.
I'm only perfecting it as I go now. So I would never think that I would answer that question in that sense, but
Right.
yeah, but then on the flip side, I mean, how much did I learn outside of school?
Right.
Tons,
Right.
like people skills or etiquette or principles on set. So
One of the, I guess, my stance, because I didn't go to film school. I didn't,
mm,
and some of the filmmakers and videographers that I work with sometimes also didn't either. Some of
yeah,
very few of them did. Some of them didn't, and it's never really a debate. It's usually more like, and I ask them this question all the time, and the response seems to kind of sort of be the same, but then we always
hmm,
have the same outlook on the entire scenario. It's like,
exactly,
and so
yeah,
my response is usually like, if you have the means, if you have the money, then I always think, even though I didn't go, I can never tell someone don't do it because you don't need it. I think
yeah,
it's a very good, valuable tool to have. It's great for networking, as you just mentioned, that you hire a lot of the people that you went to school with,
yeah,
and but you don't absolutely need it. Like, it's not a make it or break it type of deal, because
yeah. No,
there's a lot
it's
of people that are
yeah,
making it really good and still didn't even.
tons.
I think one of the biggest examples of that is um oh my goodness, uh my goodness, I can't believe
Famous, like
I'm drawing a blank right now.
no sweat, like a famous person or
Yeah. Oh my gosh, all the
the
listeners are gonna
actor or
kill
they
me on this one. um
just edit it in, they won't know.
no, this is usually gonna be a one shot. Quentin
You're
Tarantino.
gonna
My
say
goodness.
okay, yeah. I was like, you're gonna say someone I don't know, and I'd be like,
No,
yeah,
it's Quentin Tarantino. It's a very obviously well-known director, but didn't go to film school, and he
yeah,
usually has that same stance where, if you're able to go, then go, but if you're not able to go, that should not stop you. So
yeah. Like I know a handful of people who just didn't go to school. They bought a camera and they're killing it. Just for the pure fact of Instagram, Facebook,
mhm.
As we previously mentioned as well, like, I mean, you're doing a podcast. We've never personally met, but I mean, look, you're making a connection online, and
Right.
that's huge. And that wasn't even around when I was in like, I mean, Instagram. Yeah, Instagram was out when I just finished college, but I
Mm.
never really. Yeah, and then I just was like, oh, it's a cool program like everyone else, right? But now you can market like crazy.
No, it's a
So
fantastic tool.
phenomenal, yeah.
I really enjoy it. What year did you finish college, by the way?
Oh man, here we go. Just trying. I'm so bad with dates and numbers. That's why Alex is like,
Mine mine
she's
mine was 2011, and it's funny.
yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I was trying to see is probably around the same time.
I think I was 12, 2012.
Okay, gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, 5, 6 years, I think. Yeah, I don't know, 11. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a while.
yeah, crazy. I always thought that too. I was like, oh yeah, like college was like 3 years ago, man, like 2 years ago, whatever. Now I'm like
Insane
pushing
how
5 or 6.
time flies. When I was in college, I used to play football, and I played football
Okay,
for Florida International University, and
nice.
I always thought it was funny how that's my background. And while I was playing, in the field practicing, doing everything, I would go back to my dorm, pick up my laptop, and just start editing. And
Hmm.
that's where my passion actually grew. I just loved doing it. Then I started doing it for my church, and it was all the rest is history.
Yeah,
And so
heck yeah.
in video production now, you got your business going, and I understand you started your business in Canada.
Yeah. So we started again when we were really young. I mean, I'm 28. I'm still really young.
Right.
Um, and it was kind of like the thing that Ray was saying too in the past episode of how if you're young and you're into it, it's like kids with YouTube these days. Like they just like they love YouTube. It's the same as I grew up. Like we grew up with video games. Like our millennial
Yep.
area, whatever generational thing was like video games. Yeah, it was like a drug, right?
Mm,
So I just that like filmmaking is my drug. That's why I started really young because I was like, I know what I want. Let's do it. Let's pin it. Let's play it. Let's get it going.
that's awesome.
And it was just yeah, Canada was it was from a small hometown to Toronto, the bigger city. Kind of had a handle on that, and then I was like, well, what's next with Alex? And it's not like we jumped ship or anything because it's we expanded and we're to and from all the time. And it just migrated into Los Angeles. Like, what's the big end goal? And like, if we do it now, it also comes down to a person like your personal life. Like, you don't have any kids, you don't have any dogs, you don't have any like attachment in that sense. So it's like, I mean, we're both in the film industry together, working under one company. Kind of makes logical sense to not push to your, the ceiling, the cap. So,
And
yeah.
was that your biggest motivation for moving to Los Angeles?
In terms of what? Sorry.
Though, well, that's where your job has been taking you, isn't that?
Yeah.
Is not where? Oh, is we had mentioned it before before we started the actual interview, but you had mentioned that you get a lot of jobs in Los Angeles and New York, so
Yeah.
you're constantly traveling there. Was that your biggest determination for making the move?
Yeah. Like, but it's also like, it's just, honestly, because I'm a creative and whatnot, it's like, it was the dream. It is the dream.
Gotcha.
Like that's what it was. I'm not getting pulled like left, right, or this way or that way because of, like a specific job or anything. It was the opportunity. Like in hindsight, it is the work. Like America in itself offers so much opportunity, and so does Canada. And in Europe as well. Like that's on our kind of the radar as well.
Mm.
And I want to be like worldwide at the end of the day. Like that's my goal. But it was just like we're an action sport and lifestyle company, so it kind of just made sense to push that into this direction. So
And one of the one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you because I've been seeing your work. What do you shoot on? And I know I saw red on your website, fairly
yeah,
big. Is that the only camera that you're using currently?
primarily, yeah, the Epics,
Okay.
Dragon. We have a Dragon, and then all of our friends around us are like our handpicked homies, if you want to call them whatever, our crew is, they have all the new weapons and heliums and all that, the red stuff. So
Very cool. How long?
yeah, we're red driven. So
How long have you been on the red game?
oh, when the dragon first came out. So what are we at now? A couple of years then, probably 3.5 years.
Gotcha. Three
Yeah,
and a half?
and
Really?
I don't know, when did the Epic come out?
I
Do you have a
think
computer in front of you?
well, it sounds about somewhere around there. 3.5. Maybe. It sounds about right here on my computer. But it sounds about right. I was a big dragon shooter about a year and a half ago when I used to work.
Nice.
I wasn't the owner.
Okay.
I used to work for a media company, a multimedia company called Noiseworks, and they owned the Dragon. But it was, basically mine to use and whatnot, and it was amazing. It was terrific. It was just
Yeah.
amazing working with that camera. The workflow is heavy, but
Yep.
I love that it gives you the options to downscale the compression. The compression,
Yeah.
and that's
There's
awesome. That's terrific.
the metadata, I mean, even the do tour thing I just did with the cinemagraphs, it kind of like, it's just the real estate for like visual effects. Um, Majority of our clients still, they want 2K and then maybe 1080. So if I'm shooting at 6K, I can resize and like, instead of being like, oh, I flip a lens, let's go to 50 mil because we're on an 80 or whatever. It's just like you kind of, you know what I mean? Like you can punch in if you need to, or
Yeah.
scale and all that. And then the dynamic range is like, oh, it's nighttime. Let's just still bump that up a little bit more. So, but then the new, like the A7Ss have just piqued my interest just because it's like the low light,
Mm.
and then the riggability in terms of like if we travel all the time. So I mean, sometimes the jobs don't call for a big red camera. And apparently the TSA just launched some new news that every time you go through the TSA, you got to get like step off to the side and your whole bag has to get pulled out. So,
With the red?
yeah, just like they said cameras. So I don't know how generalized that is, but
Oh, they have cameras. When did that come out?
like a day ago.
Stop.
Um, yeah. So it's like apparently if you have pre-check and everything, you're fine.
Oh, okay,
But
good.
sometimes if you don't have that stuff, and I'm sure we're going to get like a little bit of a bumpy road, not because of any red flags or anything, just for the pure fact because we're crossing a border all the time from Canada to the States, that the TSA is going to be like, hey, what's this? And
Do
so
you have the pre-check?
I don't.
Oh
No, I
man.
I have like, we have Nexus, so it's like,
What is?
but then that's also, you can't really take gear with you. It's kind of like, yeah,
Yeah, and
global entry.
I
So
was just talking to my buddy Mike, which is my co-host, and we were talking about travels, and we both kind of agreed that I think TSA pre-check is probably the most invaluable
yeah,
thing that we've learned. That how crazy it's pretty much dirt cheap because you have it for like 5 years,
yeah,
but it's just amazing.
it's
It
yeah,
really is.
especially with this the gack that you carry in your bag and on your back. So
Gotcha.
I don't know, man.
And
Yeah,
what glass do you tend to use a lot? Do you see
we
yourself?
rent we rent a bunch.
Okay.
Our close friend has Zeiss's, so we just kind of like
C-
swap gear as it comes.
CP2s?
Uh, no, they're not. Every time like someone asks, I'm like, I'm so confused of what they. Trying to see if I can find Instagram. No, he won't even. Um, they're Zeiss's, but they're still lenses, but they're modified to be cine. Um,
Zeist. Okay.
Again, I'm blanking. I'm half tech and I'm half like, let's just get the shot type thing.
Gotcha.
Um,
Are they
and then Canon's still lenses are like my number one. They're always in the bag because they're beautiful and
t-
whatnot. And
talking
then a
about
couple,
the L series?
yeah.
Gotcha.
So but then that covers like range from the 70 to 200 to
Mm,
24 to 105, a 50 mil for low light,
that's
a
good.
couple primes as well and macros. So that's just on my bag all the time.
Mm.
And then Alex and I actually grew up in rental house. That's how we kind of like bridged as well into the industry. So, I mean, any type of glass we rent from our friends, and they just, they have cinema glass, like from like Fuji's to CP2s to Master Primes to Ultras to Super Speed. So
Nice.
kind of like it, and Cooks and all that stuff. So it's whatever the client is really asking for. So, and that's another thing too. I don't know if to take the conversation that way or anything. Just wanted to note this is that
Yeah.
we put in the time like early on in our careers to really learn the craft, but as well as like know the politics of people and the what gear to use and all that stuff. So it's like any job that I can do today is because I did it all when I was interning in school or post like grad a little bit as well.
Mm.
And we've developed relationships from like literally I'm 28 now, so like in the teens while like, friends are off partying or whatnot too. And it's just like if you start developing relationships, they just stay with you for like a really long time. So, I mean, like the work that Alex and I do today is also, it's reflecting back to like what we started off as like interning, knowing nothing. Yeah. So,
So it sounds like you had a really, I guess, smooth takeoff when you started your company, right? Because is that what you're saying, that so because you'd been doing it since you were in college and interning, a lot of the things, a lot of I guess the obstacles that have come about in your career, you've kind of already done that before, so you kind of knew how to go about that
yeah.
situation.
Yeah. The like for filmmaking, like I said this to a friend the other day. I was like, if I can expand my company to Los Angeles, I can make a movie. Like, hands down, no sweat. Like, I'm not even nervous to step on set, like, ever, because I just know what I'm doing. I'm focused. I'm dialed in. I've done. It's like an athlete ready
Mm,
for a race.
yeah,
Like, sure, you kind of get a little, a little shaken or whatnot
yeah.
because it's race day, but you have everything planned out. You have a crew behind you. Everything's perfect. So, but in terms of the company, like it was not smooth at all because we were so young. Like who's going to give, these little teens, these kids, X amount of money to go make a little movie and they don't like, we're still educating everyone we know, clients and all that on social and how impactful it could be for X amount of money.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, the good thing about starting really young is that you can play on that young card, be like, well, okay, that was that. And then we just kind of like, you erase a few things. And now when um, you have your website, your portfolio, you kind of show what the best of. And I still have footage when I was like shooting, I don't know, like a couple months out of college because they're good shots, so they stick with you.
Right.
So
And starting your company, when you started, we're actually heading back in our conversation. When
yeah, no sweat.
when
Yeah.
you started your company, how many okay. So how many times did you ever stop and think, uh I wish I would have known this before when I started my company? Um
Dude.
how many roadblocks did you come across? And I mean for anything, like getting your website up and running, marketing
Oh my God.
yourself, all that kind of stuff, the basics,
It, everything. Like
everything.
that's why, see, like I found on film, it was like, sure, it was a handful of logistics, like, oh, the cable got broken, or we got to go here. It's raining. Now we got to go to the sunshine. Like those logistics are like, now I'm looking at them being like, those are the smallest things of my, like, they're not even a worry. But when you start doing a company, there's so much, like, I'm trying to grasp what, I mean, it could be insurance to on set. We didn't know anything about insuring our crew on set,
Mm,
liability. I didn't get taught insurance at film school. That's an important thing. I mean, if you're doing exactly what we're doing with lifestyle and action sport, you're on a mountain, you're on a,
dangerous
edge of a
stuff.
cliff. Yeah. Like like we're in helicopters and all that stuff. So it's like, you got to watch that. And that's a whole new dynamic that we never were taught. And then it comes down to, yeah, exactly. Website. Like, are we promoting ourselves right? And then is our logo like, is it professional enough? Does it cater to our clientele? Like, does the logo hold up to the brands that I have on my website, and does it represent in the same kind of like bubble? So I don't know if that's too far out,
No,
but
that's
I mean,
great.
there's variables on every level. And then and when we even first started out, it was like it came down to the name. Like, it's Chris and Alex, it's Chrilleks, but you know, do we want to expand a little bit more down the road for other people, or is it just like, you know, you want a mom and pop feel? So it's marketing, it's politics, it's, you know, it's people, it's gear, it's the fun stuff and the bad stuff as well. So sweet and sour,
Nice.
if that gives some perspective. Sorry if I'm rambling a little
No,
bit, but yeah, there's just a
listen,
lot.
listen. This is what this show is about. We're going to
Yeah,
ramble. We're going to talk and just discuss these
I
different
love it.
yet random situations
Yeah,
that come about. And anything else that you can provide, I think it's gonna be valuable. Better than not having anything,
sweet.
you know. And I think
Yeah.
that that's important.
We had, for instance, just like, sure, let's talk about logo for just a brief
Yeah.
second. It was like our logo was like, meh, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was like thin lettered. It was like a creative house. Like we called ourselves creative house right off the top because we're all about like, you know, community and opportunity. We want to work with people. It's collaboration, right? It's film.
Yeah.
And social media is the same thing. It's social. Let's talk. Let's show. You know, it's a show and tell online. Um, and then our logo changed to this Boston Terrier head, and it was a little bit more thicker letters and bolder in your face, like
Mm.
more edgy. We're on our feet. We're on our toes. Let's jive.
What
And then
what
so go.
was
Yes.
this? Did you already have the name or?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you're
Chrilleks was like, it was like a friend thing, like originated from like our friends just being like, oh, what are you guys doing on Friday? Oh, Chrilleks is in, because I always mash things together, always make little fun things, and
Oh,
then it
so
just happened that
it wasn't something that just hit you. It was something you guys were already using.
a little bit, but
Okay,
I honestly don't even remember how it really came up.
gotcha.
It just was like, yeah, Chrilleks is in for the weekend. I mean, we still get texts with our groups of friends being like, yeah, Chrilleks is in. It's Chris and Alex. So if I'm off doing something, Alex is like, yeah, we're both in for this. Like
That's good.
it just worked.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
continue with your
So,
logo.
and then it was a Boston Terrier head, like a dog head, and we're like, well, what does that have to do with filmmaking? But we ran with that logo for like, you know,
Oh man.
we ran that logo for like 3 years, and then like you could tell some companies were like, I don't know if I feel this jive, and we're like, well, why? And then we've changed our logo up to what it is now, and there's a C plus A in it, and it's just like it speaks our collaborative feel. And to a graphic designer today, they'd be like, duh. Like as I'm saying it right now, I'm like, why didn't you know that? But that took like 5, 6, 7 years of fine tuning it, you know. And it's like
Yeah.
in the middle of like doing productions, in the middle of doing health insurance, to flipping your license plate from the Canadian license plate to the American license plate. Like, I mean,
Mm.
every variable, there's so much, man, like, as you know, but it's like,
I think the logo, at least for me, was like really tough, man. Even though I
yeah,
gotta say, it's
it's
probably the
so tough.
funnest, most exciting part about when I started my business, when I started my company. It was probably the most exciting, the funnest, but it was so hard to come down to like
Yep.
something that I was really comfortable with, you know? Something where
Yeah.
every time you see it, you have to like, I guess, smile and be proud of it, you know?
Yep.
That's
100%.
what
Every day
exactly.
you walk into the studio and you see it on the wall, right? So,
Exactly. So that's something that, yeah, it's fun to develop, really hard to come to, I guess, a final product.
oh my God, man. And it like, is it final? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to change again? Is it? So
Yeah, and that's something that I battle
that's,
with, that I battle
yeah.
with all the time. When I start anything new, like this podcast, it was like I to be honest with you, I still don't have a, I guess, 100% direction of where this podcast is gonna go, but I just know it's gonna go
Yep.
somewhere. I
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's, I mean, that's usually, I mean, all right. So I started my business as it used to be called 10 Gates Productions, and it's basically uh kind of like like your business and whatnot, and like any
Hmm.
other production house. And that was the plan of it, the plan for it, and but again, I started not fully understanding the entirety of this industry.
Yep.
It wasn't until one of my friends, a good friend of mine, Ricardo, he's the owner of Extreme Jibs. He rents out jibs like for huge, big professional productions. He brought me on as his assistant, and that was like really my eye opener to this entire industry and how people maneuver
Yeah.
and people function. And then not long after that, I decided, well, I kind of want to go full freelance, full like freelance in the sense where, you know, I have a very personal, I guess, connection with my clients. They talk to me.
Hmm.
Even at that time I was working and people barely even knew what 10 Gates production was. When they first heard it for the first time, we had already been doing business and they hadn't heard about it. And, you know, and then I decided, well, I'm just going to start branding myself. It's just Ariel
Yeah.
Martinez, you know, and that's the direction I decided to go. I'm very happy with it. And,
Yeah.
that's pretty much, you know, how it kind of works, you know, but,
That's like the
uh,
it's that's the coolest thing in today's day, and I think a lot of people are very narrow-minded in that sense because it's like, oh, you're just a kid, or oh, it's just a skateboard. Like,
mhm.
I, we've been bridging the gap between like luxury brands now and like lifestyle and action sport. We still want to take those action sport and lifestyle elements to the luxury brands, and I mean, it's working to their favor because, like, to some people, you know, a skateboard is a skateboard. You want to go rink a dink on your surfboard, but like, there's huge opportunity in that. There's massive money behind it,
Mm.
and the fact that like you kind of blaze your own trail is like a really cool thing, but you're also being successful by making a business. And you don't have to be blank 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 Productions Inc. LLC big to make an impact these days. Like, I mean, you're killing it. You're successful in your own podcast. That gets me jacked. Like, that's so sick. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
don't need, there's no rule book. Like,
there
there's
isn't.
no, like,
There really
and
isn't.
today you can do whatever you want. And I mean, if people don't grasp that, then maybe you're not
And
willing to work
and
together, you
just
know?
yeah, and just how you mentioned earlier, a big part of that has to do with social media and how
Tons,
just
huge.
like that, there is no rule. There really isn't.
No, no.
I started I started, I don't know if you've seen it. I started like 3 years ago, I think now. It's been 3 years. This account called Film School. And
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, I follow you. I'm on the Insta game,
there
yeah.
you go. And I
Yeah.
started that, and honestly, the point of that, it really, again, there was no direction for that. The reason I started that simultaneously, I think almost close to when I started my business. But the reason I started it was to, I guess, reach out to a community that I didn't know existed, to reach out to
Yeah.
like people that, you know, like videography and filmmaking and whatnot, and see what they're up to. And
Hmm.
I just started posting my own stuff, and I noticed whenever, and I just followed a trend. People like to see gear, you know, and
Yep.
and I only had so much of my own images. And so that's when obviously I started, you know, seeing what other people were doing and showing other people what these people are doing, and
Yep.
that just grew
That's
popular.
I just met people in NAB this year in
Right.
Vegas being like, yo, I follow you for a minute, and like they're like, what? This is weird. I'm like, oh, you don't understand. I obviously get into a conversation. I'm like, oh, when I follow people on my
Yeah.
Instagram, like, it's serious. It's not like, you know, oh, I follow all these like fail blogs and babes or whatever. It's like I actually dial in to find like who you are and what you do. And I have my hand in Europe right now. I have my hand in Miami with you, or I
Mm,
have my hand in LA, and I have my hand in Toronto. Like, it's global within the palm of your hand, and that's
that's
huge.
so good.
That's massive. And like, I mean, you're doing your podcast and like you learned through Instagram and we got connected. You're again Miami and I'm in LA. We're coast to coast
Yes.
in the biggest country on the planet. Like, it's phenomenal that people think that it doesn't do anything. It really, like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
And then just to finish this up, but like
Mm-hmm.
to finish my rant or whatever, to throw a logo on the end of that, you're missing you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's
Like
yeah, there's
yeah,
it's
we
such
get
a
it.
huge opportunity, and it's unfortunate that, I mean, some people don't see that. But for
Yeah.
us that do, I think I
Oh,
mean, it's, hey, the more we can get out there, the better. You know, especially it's
yep.
good for business, it's good for networking, it's good for social, you know, for
How
social
much do
appearance.
you, for sure, how much do you think you learned by just starting a camera, like Instagram, versus what I learned, like, what, 6 months in school?
Oh my goodness.
Like, I scoured Instagram forever. I still do. On, you know, oh, this person's holding this camera. How does he rig his microphone? How does he rig
Yes.
his
Yes.
lens? Oh, this guy's not even using handle grips. He's using the matte box
Mm.
to hold the shot. What he's okay, he's got gloves on. What kind of gloves does he have?
Exactly.
Like,
I see that all
and
the
like,
time, and I always wonder.
yeah.
And I ask people like, what Israeli articulating arm are you using for that monitor? It looks
Yep.
really good and solid. I would definitely like to take a look at that. And
Tag that, pin it, link it, sold
everything,
it. Like,
everything. It's so huge right now, and that's again. That's what I like to see, so that's what I post. You know, even on my own
mhm.
Instagram. I mean, I post what I enjoy to see. You know, and
And people, honestly, like, I love what you're doing too. Like, it's, and I haven't even met. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
we just connected on such a new level.
definitely.
It's,
No,
yeah.
we're right there, man.
And cameras are like one avenue of my life. And then
Mm,
there's, I don't know, everything else, right? Like what drinks I like or whatever, and
right, right.
puppy dogs and all that.
would you
Can't be too serious.
would you say that you're a tech nerd? You love the cameras and see what's going on out there in the
I
industry?
I started that way, very into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I still do love it very much so. I think it diluted a bit,
Okay.
just for the pure fact because I really enjoy just meeting creatives like yourself or, NAB. I go NAB for the people. Like I go to
Mm,
see people. Like it's sure, yeah, when you say it aloud, it's a networking event, but I
yeah.
actually like to, hey, what are you into? Oh, and by the way, here's the new lens that I'm actually creating. Holy, and then I just blow up being like, this is insane. And like, but I like it just, it's the fulfillment of chasing clients is the fulfillment of actually keeping my business like alive, well, succeeding.
mm,
That's what gets me. But it started out in filmmaking, and I
yeah.
still think that's really cool because if I can do the front end of like networking and talking to people, and then on the back end I can go play with my quote unquote toys,
Yeah.
then I mean I'm the happiest guy on planet Earth.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
Did you see when you were in, and I know you said that um that you go to NAB for the networking and for the people, right? Which is
Yeah.
awesome. Unfortunately, of the past 2 years, I've had to work um, on the week of NAB, and I haven't been able. And I've made great connections again, like we spoke about
Yep.
on Instagram, with some great companies that have been asking if I was each year they ask if I'm going to show up there so we can actually finally meet in person. Like Tilta is one of those
Yeah.
companies that have been wanting to meet me. Road has been wanting to meet me, and
Nice.
I've been dying to meet those companies like face to face just to have some sort of personal relationship with them, and
For
whatnot.
sure.
It's been great, but I've just not been able to make that happen. Hopefully next year I can make that happen. But any
Cinegear, try Cinegear too, because it's like
Cinegear,
Cinegear is,
yes, Cinegear is
I don't know
the
if like a listener, like I mean, the other thing was social, not to diverve whatever,
Mhm,
but
yeah, yeah,
I didn't know about these events, and now like they're popping up online all the time. If
yeah.
I like, I didn't have a podcast when I grew up, but if I heard, Ray said a bunch of stuff in your last few episodes that I was like, damn, this is so sick. Like, and I called him right after. I was like, yo, man, you hyped me up. Like, this is so sick. But like, you have a podcast now that you can find out about NAB,
Right.
Cinegear. Cinegear, for those listening who don't know, is more production. So
And you know what? I
yeah,
just learned that. I didn't know that. I
yeah.
didn't know that
See, so it's like
Cinegear was
we could
more
possibly help a young kid listening right now. Like
exactly.
you don't know.
And
So
I love it. I love it when people post about it all the time and they tag me in it how they're listening to the
yeah,
podcast. That makes me happy. That
you
makes me
should do. Yeah.
people tag me on
Oh,
their stories that they're posting or their, a regular Instagram post that listening to the iFIlmmaker podcast. That's awesome. That makes me super
hmm
happy. And what I do
it
is I
is the
reach out to
best.
them and I ask them what else would you like to hear. I like to provide what
Yep.
people want to hear, and it's really a
Smart.
discussion because I never claim to know everything. I'm not an expert on everything, but I do
Yep.
have an opinion, and I like to bring on people such as yourself that have opinions and basically that are killing it in the business and would just share transparently what they've learned, the path that they took to get there, because ultimately that's where people want to go. So
Hundred
I
percent.
think that that's really, really important.
Cinegear is really cool. It's only production, so there's no TV switchers. There's no audio. Like I can talk to you underwater, and like these light bulbs that light up crazy. Like just NAB is great. You should definitely go. But Cinegear is more direct, like
and
dialed into
and
production.
that's in
So
Where
Vegas.
Vegas?
NAB's Vegas,
Yeah, I know that one. Where Cinegear is
and
somewhere there
Cinegear is
in
Paramount in LA.
Paramount. That's what it was.
So I mean, even if you have the bummiest of times, which there's no chance in hell,
Mm-hmm.
you're in Paramount Studios lot. You can see where Top Gun was shot. Like,
Yes,
yeah. So it's, I
that's so
mean,
cool.
it's sick. Like, yeah, I sent a few photos that day to like our parents, just joking, be like, "Mom, we made it look," like as a joke, and our like Alex's dad was just loving it.
So
But it's like
good.
you got to feed the parents too, being like, "Yeah, the dream is working. We're not at a trade show. Don't worry about it." Like,
That's so good, man. That's so
and
good.
then there's like IBC in Amsterdam as well for those if you have listeners over in
Okay.
the Europe
Oh yeah, they're
area.
there.
There's tons of stuff, man. So it's really cool, really cool.
That's awesome, man. And when you were at NAB, did you go to Cinegear, by the way, or?
Yep, I went to
Oh,
both.
you
Yeah,
went to
because
both. Nice.
Cinegear is like Cinegear for me personally is like it's local, so it's like sweet, we'll do it in a day. Vegas
That's
is
right,
more
because
like
you're there in LA.
yeah, yeah. So you got to like kind of get on a flight or you want to drive. It's
Mm.
not. It's fine. It's Vegas, so you kind of spend a couple days and
Yeah, I definitely.
wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm dying to get out there and check that out.
Should come.
And
Yeah.
no, for sure. I gotta make that happen. You're just another person I gotta meet.
There you go. Let's do it.
When you were out there, did you see anything that caught your attention? I know
Oh, just
you're not about the gear, and there's just so much out there that you can't
dude. Oh,
ignore
there's
it.
tons.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Like again, I'm like in the gear, but I'm also not like Shot Over gave away. We're good friends with Shot Over guys. The
Mm.
aerial they do. You mount the. For those who don't know, that's the system,
Yeah.
a camera system that's a gimbal, but it goes on a helicopter or a car, or anything that really moves. And those guys, they actually gave away one of their like $150,000 systems with the red camera, Fuji lens.
Yeah. Wait, what? With
Um,
the red camera?
yeah. So Shot
Stop.
Over just yeah in May. This is in May. That's why I'm like that was one of the coolest
I,
things
I
ever
saw
because they
the I
gave
saw the giveaway, the G1 giveaway that they did.
exactly that. Yep. And that whole photo included a Fujinon lens,
That's
bright
ridiculous.
tangerine matte
It's
box, a
ridiculous.
red epic, a probably $100,000+ like gimbal system, and they gave it away. It was the coolest thing ever. So that was one of the coolest things. Trying to think, because this was May, we're in July.
Wow.
I mean, there's cable cams. There's new. It, it's also like the Ronins as well, like the Ronin 2, I believe, stabilization
Okay.
thing, like the
DJI gave
gimbal.
that away?
I don't know if they gave it. I'm not sure if they gave it away, but they like that was just new this year.
Oh yeah, the DJI,
Um,
the Ronin 2. That was a good one.
some lenses as well. The other thing is, we have a strong Toronto network. We have a strong like American network. So
Okay.
at NAB, we met like we have a whole bunch of like conversations with everybody. So again, that was the coolest part. Trying to think, yeah.
What about Cinegear?
Cinegear was rad because there's just like drones and like there's cameras on. I don't know if you ever seen them. They're like remote control cars, but they're like beefed up RC cars.
Yeah, I think
They got
isn't
like
that
they
from
actually have tires on
Yeah,
them.
I think that's from like Free Flight Systems.
Yeah, something over there. And then they threw on like a ski-doo, like a snow, like a track, like a tank.
Oh, wow.
So you could climb a mountain, you could climb like yeah, snow or dirt back in like Arizona or whatever, like everything. So that was kind of cool. Everything's remote.
Yeah.
Um, and then drones are cool too. Like I'm really good friends with the Polar Pro guys. Those guys are like killing it, and they've got some really cool stuff coming out real soon. Polar Pro.
So
Yeah.
do you do a lot of work with the shot over systems?
Uh, I want to do a lot more,
Mm.
but we have a decent amount in our portfolio that's aerial based with, or even land based with motion and gimbals.
Okay.
We grew that relationship very young in our careers as well. We just were like very intrigued by what they're doing and like the locked out system. They like the thing with the shot over is that it's a 6-axis camera. and it can like it's pan, tilt, roll, like, and it just you can look directly down and like rotate. And a lot of other systems, actually, that's the only one on the market that can do that.
Wow.
And yeah, and the stability is like unreal. That's when I was like starting out in this PS rental house in Toronto.
Yeah.
This was like they had all the special heads to grip gear to lights to cameras and lens, like I'm talking everything. It was like the Costco Toys R Us merged together with camera gear as a kid. And I was like, oh my God. So and then but they had these special heads, and I remember Alan, one of the tech guys there, he showed me like the special heads when I was like just starting out, and I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And then Shotover kind of took that, they threw some marketing into it and like made it like, whoa, like branding, and like they just spoke to the action sport crowd. So like those two were like, damn.
How?
So, and then
I would
go for it.
I don't know if you know this, but from what I understand, the first time I ever heard of Shotover, their pricing was absurd, but it seems like now that's gotten a lot. That's different. Like they're producing equipment that is affordable now.
Yeah, I would say like a medium size affordable.
Okay.
I know like a kid just being like, oh, I'm just gonna put some
But
down
it
deposit on it. I don't think so.
right, right. Yeah, that was.
But like the system, they like they have a K1, which is like a massive one. You can throw two giant area Alexas, or even
Nice.
like Epics, whatever. I'm just saying Alexa because it's big. They even done IMAX.
Wow.
So this thing's a fat beast on the front of a helicopter, and it even dials down to, and this is another thing that I threw back earlier in the conversation,
Okay.
that I had no idea about, that you have to bring less gear on the machine, like the helicopter, because the front end is so heavy. Like the helicopter literally has to stay at like a weight.
Oh, wow.
So you have to bring less baggage on with you and all that stuff. So anyways, they have a K1 system. It's really big, holds really big cameras. And they have the F1, which holds like, again, your typical like Aries or Reds.
Right.
And that's all enclosed. So, I mean, water, dust, everything's safe inside. And then now they just launched the G1, the U1, which is a smaller gimbal.
Was that what was announced at NAB?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If anyone's listening, just look up Shotover G1.
Yeah.
And then they have the Shotover U1. The U1 can actually fly up into the sky with a attached like rotor system.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's becoming a lot more, what's the word, like real, or like you can get your hands on them a lot more.
Right,
like,
right. They're more obtainable, and that's what I was getting at. Where and I see that's the direction that they're heading. They want to put more of of these shots in the hands of filmmakers at a more affordable rate, and it seems like that's the direction that they're heading in, which is really cool. Really, really cool.
Again, I can't I have no comment on that because I really don't know.
Right, right.
But I mean, it's for me as like, going from an F1, a bigger system, to a G1 now, it's like, whoa, like, you cut down X amount of years for me to save up for that or something. Like, it just caters. And the thing with them is they keep the same quality, whether it's like the biggest product or the smallest one that they offer. And it's like, you can tell the details have been thought out. The ergonomics are roughly the same, like, give or take, because it's obviously different systems, different models.
Right.
But from my experience, it's been like the top cheese, top shelf. So
I saw
on anything they give out.
I saw something that, and I'm gonna pull out my phone here because I thought it was interesting. I saw something that they started advertising, which was pretty cool. Is that now news stations are using their system?
Yeah, they can customize them. Yeah,
that's so cool, and it looks
like but see, that's the thing. So they have, with filmmaking, that's how I kind of like approach my like day to day. It's, you have a fantastic product.
Yeah.
But when you throw like a little bit of edge, like, hey man, this system's going to cost me X millions of dollars or whatever, thousands. It's like, can we customize it? They like, Shotover allows people to come in to customize it. How cool is that? Like, that's rad. I don't think any other company
it's
out there
so
can
sick.
do that.
I'm looking at the one
or
right
is
now.
Doing that.
I'm looking at the one from the Channel 7 helicopter.
ABC7, yeah, it's blue.
My God, it looks gorgeous.
And those guys are like from social to like,
so
making a little kid I mean, they supported us from day one. That's why I'm still friends with them, or I'm still promoting them, because it's like
Yeah.
they just believe in the little guy, and it's like it takes one little ounce of being like,
Yeah.
yo, dude, like you got it, and it's like it's stuck with me for life.
My
Like
goodness, they have
it's the coolest. Like
6 airy.
still,
Wow.
still to this day, I want to get one. Like for myself, just in terms of like work, or just because they make you believe, but two, they do it in such a unique way that
I gotta
so
I gotta reach out to them, see if I get them on a show. Have a
yeah,
conversation with
it
those
would be,
guys.
yeah. I'll shoot some stuff over. Yeah,
Yeah, let's make that happen.
they are a textbook. They're a Bible of knowledge. So
That's so awesome.
I'm sure they'd be stoked. But yeah, it's like it's just cool. It's just really rad.
Now, I guess to start wrapping up, where do you see you and your company heading in the direction that you guys are going in now? Do you guys see, I don't know, any changes coming up, or you're just
I
pushing
think,
forward?
yeah, like as I mentioned before, like the luxury brands is what is kind of catching our interest as of late. Like just because it's like it's so. I just love the climb.
Mm,
Like I just love the hustle. I don't
yeah.
really want to use that word because it's everywhere. It's on like IKEA mugs and all that. But I really like working for what we have and all that stuff. And
Exactly.
it's not that like I don't even know how to. It's not that middle clients are a bad thing, but I just want to get like Ferraris or something. Like get up top, like get up to the big brands of the world
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
really produce content for them. And I mean, and at the same time, still do these like the action sports stuff as well, because like that's really cool. I think that we can bring a new edge to bigger brands as well, because we have this like such a unique approach in
Yeah.
how we shoot or do things or how we work behind the scenes. Um,
And
but that's pretty, yeah.
I and maybe I should have asked this before.
No, go
When
ahead.
you guys set up for a shoot, how many, I know you're the director, the creative director, how many people typically does it take to do one of your projects?
We bring, I'd say roughly at the end of the whole thing is maybe 15, 12 to 15.
Wow.
Yeah, from pre-production to post to delivery to colorist to, I mean, visual effects, everything. Um, and a lot of stuff is outsourced as well, because we're in such a dramatically shifting like world.
Right.
I mean, if I hired we have like some full-time dudes, but if I hired a documentary editor for a social media, I mean, unless you're really well-rounded, which is rare, um, you can kind of like educate as we go, like work together as we go.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put a documentary guy on like a social media tidbit that has to be like punch, 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 and then cut logo.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it can differ from could be 5 little job like one day to 3-day job to a month. So
That's very interesting.
and then everything from like storyboard, sketch artist to, I mean, I'm the creative director. Sometimes I do direct on set and I have a separate camera guy. Sometimes it's just Alex and myself for like one-offs.
Mm.
We did a YouTube series that like absolutely killed it like last month in the numbers, and it was just myself, Alex, a camera guy, audio, and that was it on set. Like four crew from Chrilleks, a host, and then a couple producers on there, and so like 2 or 3. And it was like such a small footprint. But that's the thing too, we're able to go from small to big. Like I'm talking with shot over helicopter stuff, flying over Los Angeles and New York, and then I can come right down to just being like, yeah, let's just do it with an A7S, small little pocket cam, like.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, we picked up the Snapchat spectacles. We have a GoPros. Like I've shot projects on those, and the client, it's not about the money, but it's it's the same.
Mm.
It's a visual piece to your phone or anything. It's a social piece, or it could be anything that a connection. It doesn't matter what camera you use. Like we got you type thing.
That's interesting. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really, really cool. Well, man, this has been great. It's actually been an hour
Dude, thank
already.
you.
It's been
Oh, geez.
crazy
Hopefully people
how time
heard me
flies.
rambling that long.
No, man, that's what this is all about, man. This is
Yeah.
extremely, extremely casual stuff, man. So, where can people find you? Where can they find your work, your Instagram, all your social media? What's up? Let us know.
Everything is Chrilleks. Everything could be Chrilleks.com. ChrillEks.com. And then that's at Chrilleks as well for so like Instagram and Facebook and everything. So
yeah, I'm gonna be putting all those links on the show notes for this episode.
Sweet.
And
Thank
people
you.
can find that there and see all the awesome work from Chrilleks. That's fantastic. Chris, thanks so much
man.
for being here with me and taking the time off. For those of you that didn't know, Chris actually pulled over. You're on the road right now.
Yeah.
You were driving. You pulled over, and you've just been sitting on the side of the road while we record this episode, just having
Keep
a
it moving, baby.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
It's not. Yeah,
I truly appreciate
lucky
that.
you didn't get me on an airplane. No, dude, I appreciate it. I could talk for days on anything.
Same
again,
here.
I'm down to help. If anybody wants to hit me up, like let's chat. Like I'm down to, talk some shop as well.
There you go.
So
that's awesome, man. I fully appreciate that, man. Get you back on the road, drive safely, and we'll definitely have you back on the show in a future episode.
Heck yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, bud. So there you have it. That was Mr. Chris Grubisa from Chrilleks Productions, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was very interesting, and I found out some more stuff that he and I have in common. I think we think alike when it comes to this industry, which is fantastic, and it's awesome to connect with people in that manner. So as I mentioned in the episode, we're gonna be posting all of his information, his contact, his website, his Instagram and social media and all that on the show notes. On the website for this episode, you can go to arielmartinez.tv and check that out. And it was a great episode. So just a reminder, we're going to still be announcing the winner for the interview contest. We've had more submissions. We'll be announcing those winners on August 6th. August 6th is the deadline. August 6th is the deadline to submit your interviews. Remember that we want to see both the interviewer and the interviewee. And we will be selecting a winner of the interview contest, at which point the 3 winners will be receiving each a Rode Video Micro courtesy of Rode. So thank you to Rode. Big shout out to them for sponsoring that contest, which is our first contest. So anyways, that is all the time we have. We went well over time, but that's okay because we can talk forever when we're talking about film. So much appreciated. Thank you guys for listening. And on the next episode, hopefully we'll have Mr. McCoy again. So until then, we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.